Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. Happy Wednesday to you. Today is an interesting day here because not only are we going to explain about this candlestick closure that I was talking about earlier, it's kind of performing the way that we expect. It's actually a little different because of the fact that we have a Fed rate meeting here today and that could totally nullify everything. So again, if you want to stay abreast on some awesome technical and fundamental news, come on over to Cash Trading on our Twitter. Check that out. What we have today, just to kind of preface, is that we have a 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Fed rate interest rate decision, okay? There's also an FOMC press conference at 2:30. So you'll see as soon as the news hits at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the price jumps around, stabilizes for a moment, and then of course he starts talking. It goes either direction based on his sentiment. So interesting stuff. I'll go ahead and post, of course, here soon the link for that video in case you want to watch that. But generally speaking, that's something to kind of pay attention to, right? That could nullify everything you see here today. But there's important stuff we want to kind of recognize too, some back-end stuff on Highbot Capital. So we're going to look at that and much more. So if you're, again, new to the channel, not a financial advisor, hope you can learn something today. If you want to become a better trader, please ensure you check out our day trades and our swing trades in our Crypto Cash community. CryptoCash.tech is a site link down below. And of course, we have awesome partnerships with BINGX. We got a nice little $10,000 giveaway. And of course, Backend as well with some consistent monthly trading competition. So all cool stuff there. Be sure to check that out in your own time. What I want to preface here with is, of course, some quick stuff on the daily, and then we'll jump over to those charts here. So keep in mind, we're trending really close to 50 on the RSI. Actually, that's the hourly, correction. We are below 50 on the RSI on the daily. And what we want to recognize here is that we need to treat that like a resistance level, right? And that's going to be above the price action. It's probably in the 27,000 range where we're going to see that resistance. But for now, we can see that our MACD is starting to lose momentum to the downside. So you could argue this is bullish behavior, but it's not really either. It's honestly just kind of a bunch of stupid sideways action here, and it's not the greatest, okay? So the easiest way to see it is, of course, this guy here where we can see the price action pretty much going sideways with some nasty candle wicks up and down, but the price keeps closing really close to that 25,800, 26,000 range. So we need to understand that that is an important point of contention. We also want to take a quick look at the moving averages and just note that we're below the two more important ones. Obviously, we're above the 200-day set moving average, but the 50 and the 220 are effectively above the price action. Okay, so again, just some things to recognize. What that really just tells us here is that the daily is still bearish because we're still honoring this descending trend. We haven't broken free from it yet. All right, so again, there's a lot of different schools of thought here, but generally speaking on the daily, it's still not great as we discussed previously. Just before we jump into the 4-hour time frame, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the back-end data here. We can see there's a lot more asks than bids right now, so the price action continuing lower could very well be a case. In other words, people are trying to sell more frequently than they're trying to buy right now. Okay. We'd also see that there's a slightly more longs open than closed here today, and effectively the inverse here as well. So shorts are closing their positions, and effectively seeing a lot less shorts too. So in a sense, you could argue that that's not necessarily bullish, but that's more positive to the upside. Once again, this fear, uncertainty, and doubt, not really a great thing, okay? Because we've been trending at 25, 26,000 for quite a while now, and that's concerning a lot of people, legitimately so, okay? So just kind of recognize that. We can also see here too that whale data is up, and of course, they're very, very active the closer we get to that 25,000 mark. Let's take a quick look at the net longs. We can kind of see here that we got some early longs, well, not necessarily all that early, maybe 8 to 10 hours ago, they took some long positions at 25.9. They're tentatively in profit, but it's not like a dramatic amount. We see here with shorts, we got some early and some later shorts here. They're all kind of break even. So again, we're seeing the same kind of behavior the last 3 or 4 days in a row, where this point of 25,800 is like this price point, right? Right now we're trending closer to 26, but everything is kind of hedged really close to that level because there's not a lot of movement in the market. So it's kind of like this calm before the storm. So just be very careful trading into today. I typically recommend staying on the sidelines. There's a couple of other alternative coins I might consider shorting personally, just because I have a feeling we're going to see some wicks down. But again, it really depends on the news. If it's good news and we're at the the specific mark in which we want to be, and like the projection, then it's going to probably go sideways and up. But if it's anywhere close to the opposite of what we're expecting, we could see the price come down. It's an odd situation, and I just recommend kind of staying away from it. We haven't sent a trade in our swing trades for a little while, mainly because we have a couple of longs open from last week. But on the same accord, we still want to make sure that we wait for confirmation, and we don't truly have that just yet. And confirmation to me would be waiting until after the Fed meeting to ensure that we're on the right side of the tracks. All right, so that's kind of where we're at there. So the 4-hour tells us we're kind of trending close to 50 on the RSI. We're still below. Our MACD is trying to converge, but it's having some difficulties there. We can also see on the 4-hour time frame here that we're pretty much below all three moving averages. Yes, we're above the 20, but that's not a super big deal. I want to be above the 50 because that is the one that's holding the price action in place. We've seen a rejection consistently below the 50, and that is something we want to note. So again, that kind of reaffirms the fact that we want to close above 26,200 or higher here today if possible, okay? So again, just something to kind of note. And keep in mind, these are the notes here from yesterday. If the candlestick closed above 25.8 or below, that's kind of a point there. I just want to kind of reiterate the fact that that's important to note because a closure below 25,800 will probably signify further downside. Okay? Right now, we're slowly treading above water right now in that sense, but it's nothing significant or fantastic. All right. So again, mostly neutral here on the 4-hour. Daily still looks fairly bearish. And what does the hourly tell us here? Well, honestly, you can kind of see there's not a heck of a lot. We are seeing lower highs and higher lows. So we're kind of working ourselves into this type of wedge pattern, right? Where the price action is working itself in, squeezing in tightly, and then the price will inevitably break out either up or down. You can probably see the same thing reflected here on Bollinger Bands where the price is starting to kind of compress a little bit more. And that's just something to be mindful of. It's not necessarily telling us you need to take a position, but it does tell us that a definitive direction will be taken soon. It's rare for Bitcoin to hold this kind of price point for this long without any significant movements, right? Every time we've wicked up, we've gotten rejected. Every time we come down, we pretty much do the same thing, we bounce, right? So again, 25.8 is proving itself so far to be a nice support level, but resistance-wise, we can see this Fibonacci level here at about 26,000 also equally as a resistance. So we're pretty much range bound between this $200 price point, which is very strange, very weird. We're going to see a breakout soon. It's inevitable. All right, so again, that's kind of where we're at there. Let's take a quick look at TD sequential. We came up to a 5, down to a 5, up to a 6, resetting again. So again, that kind of tells us that there's not a lot going on. A lot of folks are probably waiting for the news to push. Okay, so a lot of times what you can do, and this is what some of my community members do, and I've done it too plenty of times in the past, is using a small position, small size, and to essentially take a trade into the Fed rate meeting, and have a stop loss in place that's kind of fairly tight. Heaven forbid you get stopped out, you lose a little, but if it goes the direction you want it to, then you can probably take some healthy profits. So again, always shoot for a 3 or 4 to 1 ratio on that if you can. And again, if you are to get stopped out, that's normal. It's okay to do that. Consider taking small losses and search for those larger gains, right? Again, that's where risk tolerance comes in. I teach that in my trading academy. That is available through my membership, but something to note, if you will, all right? Last thing I want to look at here would be the cloud, and this really doesn't tell us too much because, again, we're range bound. Being above or below the cloud really, to me, doesn't mean a heck of a lot, but in truth, we are breaking below the cloud. Conversion lines below the baseline. Lagging span is not free and clear of price, so this lagging span being basically intersecting with the price consistently just tells us that a position right now would pretty much be, I wouldn't say foolhardy, but not appropriate. Okay, so again, just something to consider there, so bear that in mind, if you will. So again, a lot of interesting stuff, but what does it mean? Honestly, technical analysis is extremely important. Don't get me wrong. I would never second guess what we do here because it definitely works. But on the same chord, going into a news event like this, it's almost the equivalent of flipping a coin because we never truly know, unless there's full-on speculation or just anticipation of the price action going either way, what the news will tell us, right? So please, just kind of be patient. I promise you it's worthwhile. Good traders are patient traders, and that's how I've been able to survive over the last 20 years almost, okay? So I promise you it's worth waiting here. If you are going to take a position, I insist you take a small position size with low leverage. Just ensure that you have something like that. Never take more than 5% of your overall portfolio and use it on a trade, specifically going into an event like this. All right, one last favor before you go. Please help us grow our new Twitter over here. Of course, create a new channel altogether. And again, this is just a good way for us to be able to interact with you. So you can be one of the first 100 members. Congratulations on that. In fact, we're actually going to put out a bonus here for a potential free membership there if you can help us like, retweet, and follow the whole 9 yards. All right, thanks again so much for joining me here. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in tomorrow's video. Take good care.